That it?
FNAF is getting reincarnated, I think, and I thought that this would be a pretty good time to talk about how the main formula of the first 4 FNAF games works pretty well. Why only the first 4? Because everything else fucking sucks. Okay, well, I don't mean that literally. Sister Location was alright, I guess. And the Pizza Simulator, along with the Ultimate Custom Night, tried to get the games back to its roots, but it didn't really do a good job at it. But FNAF World, on the other hand, that game literally almost killed the franchise. Scott, my guy. You can't just spend years on trying to find a formula that works, then just go back to making your old shit. The literal reason on why nobody played your old games was because they were ass. So why in the hell would you go back into making your shitty games? Despite that, I still find the franchise to be pretty charming nowadays. Even a game like FNAF World still gives me nostalgic memories of me checking the FNAF website each week to see the characters turn into more colorful versions of themselves. And speaking of the website, my god, looking at this shit now brings me back memories, alright? Nintendo fans had Nintendo Power. Smash fans had the Dojo. And FNAF fans had ScottGames.com, baby. This shit had everything. Teasers, build-ups to teasers, actual playable demos that revealed themselves as Scotch shitty games, because who actually wants to play good games, am I right? Okay, I think I'm kind of going off topic here, because these games are still not as good as the original 4 in terms of, like, game design and stuff. FNAF is kind of like the Sonic series in that as much as you have a soft spot for the 3D games and for what they tried to do, you just can't deny that they stink pretty bad in comparison to the first old 2D titles. But the thing is that, why? You know, why are these 4 games literally the best that this series has to offer? And I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea why. In fact, I don't think anyone knew why these 4 games were so good. It's definitely not that they're scary because, well, they're not, and it's definitely not that they look nice. Because they look like shit. So what the fuck is it then? Why? Why out of all goddamn indie games in the world did this one get so popular? I get why games like Undertale got so popular because, you know, good characters, great music, sand, spaghetti. But why is FNAF so good? Why? Legitimately. Why are these games actually really good? I don't... That question stayed in my head ever since I started thinking about FNAF again, and now it's just bothering the hell out of me. What could possibly be the answer? Just why are these games so good? And then, one day, it hit me. They're fucking arcade games. Think about it, right? These games are about surviving by doing things that help you to do so, while dealing with enemies that try to kill you so that you can't reach your goal, while also dealing with obstacles that could help you reach your goal, but also provide you with limitations that make your experience a lot harder. This is Pac-Man. That's right. FNAF is fucking Pac-Man. This repeats in every level. The only difference being is that the game gets progressively harder until it ends. But then what makes you keep going? Well, let's go back to Pac-Man. If you don't manage to collect everything and you get touched by the ghosts and die, what would you want to do next? The right answer is to try again because you were so goddamn close. And that's the scariest thing about the FNAF games. You don't want to fucking die. And that's what makes you want to keep going. The fact that these games are so fun and addicting makes you want to fucking kick its ass. And each game is just like this, but just slightly different. Just a little more different, which makes every game very easy to get into. The only game that departs from this is, I guess, FNAF 4, but even then it's designed so well to the point where it doesn't even matter that much. In fact, it might just be my favorite FNAF game in terms of gameplay just because of that alone. What I'm trying to get at is the main reason why games like Sister Location don't really work is because they lack that arcade formula. Because each night is different, the game just becomes a pack of average minigames that aren't really fun except the one with Ennard, which is basically just the first FNAF game. I still think the game's alright. I mean, I like the designs, I like the butters, the personality it has is definitely charming, but the game itself is just not too great. Back to the topic of the quadrility. That's how you say it, right? Another thing I think these games do really well is find ways to tell a story in the most subtle way possible, to the point where it's actually very impressive. So let's just jump into it. Here to clarify that was not in the script. I don't know why I said that. I'm so sorry. The first game doesn't have that much going for it in terms of story. The only story elements present are these phone calls you get at the beginning of each night, which also kind of act as short tutorials, which I think is pretty clever. Also, why does like literally nobody talk about how well acted these things are? Maybe I've watched way too much dubbed anime, but the delivery here honestly sounds super genuine. Anyway, you get told some basic stuff in terms of story, like, you know, scary animatronics run around and try to kill you, simple stuff. There are mentionings and sights of other things happening around this place, like this bite of 87 and the mysterious appearance of Golden Freddy, but they're not too important to the overall plot and are just probably up to interpretation. Now, FNAF 2 expands on a lot of things. Phone calls are still present and they serve the same functions along with FNAF 3, so there's not much I can say on that. But the big game changer here are the mini games. Now, I'm gonna guess that the people watching this video right now are most likely FNAF fans. So let's say, you've played the games, know the gist of the story, and we could even spice it up a little and say that you've also read the books and bought the merch. So I'm pretty sure that some of you already know the context behind these mini games, but let's pretend that you didn't know. Alright? Let's pretend that this is your first time laying eyes on these mini games and you didn't know shit about the story up until now. What you're greeted with is probably one of the best ways to tell a story without any dialogue. So, first minigame, Pirate Cove. You start playing as, well, Foxy. As the game tells you where to go, you do just that and get greeted by a crowd of children who, by the looks of it, get entertained by your appearance. Repeat these actions a few more times, and after the second time, you notice a purple figure standing with an innocent smile right beside your cove. After trying to interact with this figure, you go back on stage and see the same 5 children you entertained before in this lifeless state, almost as if they're dead. You may start questioning why, and as soon as that thing showed up too, and it's not like it's a guard or anything, because if so, he'd be scared shitless. So, what happened? Next minigame, you seem to be in a restaurant feeding cakes to children. After paying more attention, you see one kid who's outside the building, crying because he probably can't get in. But you try not to pay too close attention to that because you're still playing a game. But after some time passes, your character seems to be getting pretty slow, and your eyes shift back to the kid, where you see a purple car getting closer to him. More time passes and the same purple figure from before emerges out of the car as the kid slowly begins to cry and eventually appears in the same lifeless state from the last minigame. So if you put 2 and 2 together, you can probably guess that this guy kills people. Why he does it is unknown, but the point is that he does do it for his own personal reasons. The game ends with you being jump scared by the puppet, and the next one begins with you playing as it. So, again, by putting things together, you can guess that the kid from the last minigame became the puppet in some way. So, your goal in this game is to basically give gifts to these dead corpses, presumably killed by this purple guy, and then give him life by putting on the suits of these animatronic characters. And once you're finished, you get jump scared by Golden Freddy, making you question his existence even more. This alone answers so many questions. The reasons why these animatronics act so strange is because they are stuffed with the souls of dead children who seek revenge on a psychopathic purple figure. And this is the reason why they want to kill you, because the minigame right after reveals this man with a badge. These characters think you're the killer because you work as a security guard in the restaurant. Now, I am aware that some people might not come to this conclusion at first because these minigames do go in a completely random order, but I'm pretty sure that people who are just a tad bit interested might look back on these and piece together what's actually going on. Moving on to FNAF 3, the minigames themselves do come back, but in a more interesting format. And honestly, I think that this is the point where Scott's story truly shines. First game starts you off in what seems to be the pizzeria from the first game. You can tell this by exploring the place and find the exact same environments, so exact to the point where you can find the same office that you worked in before. But exploring here is not really the point, because you gotta follow this mysterious thing that's leading you somewhere. Usually this sort of action is done by someone like the puppet, but not here. So this already brings up a lot of confusion. Some time passes and here he is, the Purple Man, who this time is trying to tear you apart so that you probably don't intervene with his plans. Repeat these same actions as different animatronics and eventually you'll start playing as a crying, dead child who most likely belongs to at least one of the animatronics. This time, you're not following anybody because you already know where you're going, So you end up at the same place you were broken apart, and bam, there he is, the purple killer, who's terrified because he probably didn't expect something like this to happen. You try to get him cornered, but eventually he jumps into the spring Bonnie suit right next to him, which then collapses, leaving him to die. When I first found out about this as a kid, I thought it was fucking sick, because that suit is the same one you're trying to not get killed by in FNAF 3, so you're basically hiding from the big head killer. And just because of that, Springtrap became my favorite FNAF character, so much to the point where I bought this plushie. Looks like shit, but hey, at least I have it, unlike my other toys. And hey, it even made it into my older videos. Warning, this is not a plug. Don't watch those videos, they fucking suck. Surprisingly though, these are not the only mini games in the game, because there are more, and they act as almost secret unlockables in a sense. These games don't seem like anything special at first. Most of them are just your basic collect a set amount of items to win games. But once you try to do something unintended, and I say it with quotes, you get taken to areas with the ghost children and give them cakes. Now, like I said before, these games are mostly about collecting things like, gifts, sweets, and toys for them to be given to children around the area you're playing. So, the whole going out of bounds to give these spirit children gifts really says a lot about them as characters. These kids were not liked by anyone, and were left outside of the restaurant for most of the time. Even though almost everyone disliked their existence, they still had something special going for them. And so the obvious thing you get from playing these games is that you're giving these kids something that they've never had or experienced. And that is magical. So once you've played through all the games out there, you get taken to an area that is basically just a long hallway that resembles a party. And at the end, you meet up with all the kids you've helped, along with the last crying child, who, once gifted, puts on the mask of the animatronic that he represents. After this, the children disappear from existence, leaving their masks behind, while balloons float up into the air, showing that their spirits are finally able to let go of the characters they once were. And so, as reward for setting these children free, you're greeted with the good ending screen. Coming back to this had me surprised. The fact that such an interesting and compelling story can be told without a single line of dialogue is impressive beyond belief. This is beauty. Now let's talk about how they fucked it up. Okay, again, I don't mean that literally, because the story that FNAF 4 tells is actually pretty good. But the problem is that it's being told through actual dialogue, which is definitely a downgrade. I won't spend too much time on this segment because the story being told is pretty self-explanatory. Kid hates living in his house because he has nightmares about monsters trying to rip his dick off. And his abusive father and older brother are definitely not helping with the situation, so the only friend he has is a figment of his imagination that's in the form of Fredbear, a very early version of Freddy, who's the mascot of Fredbear's Family Diner, also known as the first pizzeria of the Fazbear name that's been hinted at in FNAF 2 and 3. But who cares about that shit, am I right? What we're really here to talk about is the ending, where this happens.
Was that the bite of 87?
Holy fucking shit, this is huge. This is it. The bite of 87. Something that has been hinted on ever since FNAF 1 has finally been revealed. This is big shit, oh my god, I gotta tell everyone about this. Ah, son of a bitch. What? Are you fucking serious? 1983, why the fuck would you put this here? To fuck with the fans? Oh yeah, let's just make this big event that's been hinted out throughout all the FNAF games just up to interpretation so that can never be answered. Ooh, I wonder what caused this disaster. Did Mango do it or did Foxy do it? I don't want to think about what fucking happened, just tell me what fucking happened. And after FNAF 4, the plot just basically fucks itself, because you know the purple guy, right? Well, there's two of them, William Afton and Michael Afton. William, who apparently made Fredbear's Family Diner along with two other locations at the same time, being the sister location and some small bar called Junior's. He also had a daughter who got stuffed into an animatronic called Baby, that's the mascot for the sister location, and a robot designed to kill people. And then Michael Afton, who is the kid from FNAF 4 that came back to life because of a substance called Remnant, which are body parts of an animatronic named Ennard, who was the original mascot for the sister location before Baby replaced them, who also has the ability to rebuild and give life to anything that lives. This includes human beings. So because of that, Michael becomes the purple guy, and so people confuse him for William, which is why he's allowed going around the pizzeria killing kids, I guess. So he gets locked in Springtrap, and William also dies because... But Michael survives the burning down of Fazbear's right, so he comes back to this pizza simulator along with Baby and these two guys. Little did he know that the place he was actually in was a giant labyrinth that's about to explode that's built by Henry, a friend of Williams who built the first video location and went to hide him for 5 years. So he kills Michael along with everyone else and he gets sent to hell, which is the ultimate custom night, and literally half of this shit is explaining the shitty books that nobody will read.
Why do I even like FNAF, huh? Why? I mean, I only like friggin' 4 games on like 11. Why do I even bother? Just fuck FNAF, man. Just end the video.